All right, let's get to a little bit of not as sweet stuff, and that is some news from the last few days about this potential ceasefire deal that is being bandied around. Let's see that.
Top headlines at this hour. We begin with Israel advancing efforts to finalize a comprehensive truce and hostage deal before Prime Minister Netanyahu's visit to Washington, D.C. next week. The plan, if reached, would include a full ceasefire in Gaza and the return of all 50 remaining hostages, both living and deceased. Reports say Netanyahu is now open to this framework for the first time ahead of his meeting with President Donald Trump. Hamas is expected to respond to the proposal today, though finalizing the deal could still take time. Key issues remain on the table, including the release of Palestinian prisoners, the phased withdrawal of IDF forces from Gaza, and the flow of humanitarian aid. Netanyahu stated,
listen to those three things, right? The release of so-called Palestinian prisoners. They don't mean the release of prisoners. They mean the release of terrorists.
Criminals. Opening the jails and letting out the criminals.
The murderers. They're not criminals. They're murderers. They're anti-Jewish, Israel-hating, jihad neo-Nazis. Hello.
Jew killers.
Right. So that's one. Two is how much land will Hamas control? Hello. Are we living in some kind of are we confused here?
Hamas still exists. Well, let's not even talk about how much it will control. We had 2 goals in this war. 1, get back the hostages. Not necessarily in this order either. 1, get back the hostages. 2, destroy Hamas.
Right.
So when we negotiate with
I don't think one of the war goals. I don't think one of the war goals. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
When we negotiate with Hamas, what we're saying is, we recognize you, Hamas, and we need you around to talk to. And we're going to talk to you, and we're going to meet somewhere in the middle. How can you meet somewhere in the middle with a terror organization that you swore that you would destroy and that you sent tens upon tens of thousands of Jewish men and women out into battle for months to defeat? How can you do that? How can we say that we can find a middle ground with these people? The point was to destroy them. The part was to create a new era. The point was to ensure, not to say a lot of words, to ensure through actions that nothing like October 7th could ever happen again. And when we make a deal like this, what we're saying is we leave the door open to something like this happening again.
That's right. You're supposed to give them, certainly part of the war goals was not to release thousands of bloody murderers. And I mean bloody in the literal sense, not in the British sense. Although you could read that.
We've literally taught them how to manipulate us.
Right.
If you take a Jew, you can get 1,000 Arabs for that.
No, 1,000 jihadis.
Right. 1,000 Jew killers.
Right.
Can be just brought back into gameplay. And it's at what point do we teach them something different? At what point do we teach them that we are rising lions and that you cannot come against us, not ever again?
Rising lions. I would take we're not suckers, come on.
Yishai, I had to say,
wait. There was 3 points. The first one was the release of terrorist prisoners. The second one was how much land will Hamas control, if they will control anything. And the third one was humanitarian aid. Hello, do not send them aid at all because they still have our hostages. We're still at war, and that's in the minimum. They're literally at war with you. They literally are holding your people that you're crying about. So why are you feeding them with thousands of tons all the time? It's just
I'm
so
laughing,
absurd.
Yishai. I'm laughing not because what you're saying is funny. What you're saying is so true, and it's not funny. I'm laughing because the moment that we let in the first truck of humanitarian aid, is the moment that we set the stage for exactly this deal that we're talking about right now. When we feed the guy who's punching us in the face, we keep him alive, we keep him punching, and we really like we punch ourselves in the face, like we get ourselves punched in the face. And it's terribly sad. At the same time, we can all feel and we can all see through the news that Israel is no longer fighting this war. There is a war and it's going on, and there's soldiers in Gaza, and every day we're lighting another memorial candle because another like gorgeous 19-year-old boy is being extinguished from this world. God forbid, not anymore. And you got to wonder, like, what should we do if we're not going to do war in the way that we should do war, which is a pretty simple way, but a way that it seems that this administration is just not ready to do? Then what's the alternative? Do we just keep going the way that we're going? What do you think, Yishai? Like, what is the right way to proceed, knowing that the Netanyahu administration not knowing, it really seems though that the Netanyahu administration is not willing to fight this war the way that it should be fought in order to actually win. The goal is not to win. So what should the next step be aside from fight this war for real?
I think that this administration has done miraculous things, and that those miraculous things have included a real turnaround from, except in one field, but a humongous turnaround from the 7th of October. The 7th of October, the chips were really down, and the administration actually should be brought to task for allowing such a thing to happen on so many levels. At the same time, in the last almost 2 years, they've done miraculous things. They really have mostly defeated Gaza. They really have mostly defeated Lebanon and caused the destruction of the Assad regime. Then they smashed, Iran, really blackened both their eyes, minimal. So there's been a lot of important and beautiful things that have achieved. The one field that they have not achieved much success in is the global influence field. Israel's global name has been muddied, and I think our enemies were much more prepared for that, and I think that we are still not prepared properly for that. In some ways, Malkah, I think that this administration is doing the best that it knows how, and yet it is a little bit bankrupt from bigger ideas. It's a little bit like that elephant who was raised chained and still believes that a little chain will hold it. They just do not want to look at the big picture in the face. And so they've achieved great tactical successes. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful for those tactical successes. I think we should all be thankful for those successes. But at the same time, we have to keep doing exactly what we're doing right now, which is talking about a bigger vision, a sensical vision. It's so sensical to just hold on to this land, be the sovereign, give pro-Israel Arabs or whoever residency. Jihad has got to go. And really an unapologetic, clear mandate to hold on to our land, push back on bad guys, certainly don't give them anything, and don't negotiate with them because there's going to be nobody to negotiate with. We're just not there. We still have this sick idea inside. There must be some kind of German word for like keeping your enemies alive, like Schnubbenfrachenstein, like some weird like word that means like, yeah, we almost want to destroy enemies, but we kind of don't do it at the very end. There must be like some weird, word in some language, but just like they have a word for the feeling that you get when you see your enemies suffer. It's like what is the feeling that you get when you almost want to take your enemies to the end, but you don't want to finish them off totally. So that is definitely a problem. But at the same time, I'm also grateful for what it is. I'm grateful for what it is. I a little bit accept for what it is, and I'm personally working for 10, 20 years down the line. That's the way I think of it, and I think that day will come because it just makes sense, And this way of hitting your head against the wall, doing the same thing again and again, is just will lead to nothing and will lead to disillusion and depression. At the same time, the state of Israel, has done a lot of beautiful things, and we are living here in this land, and there's joy in this land. There's children being born in this land. There's Torah being learned in this land. There's brilliance, God's ideas being channeled into this land. Jerusalem is being built. And so, there are many good things to be thankful for and many things to strive for in the future.